Hi, my name's Mike Ward. I'm the Global Director of Content at Informa's Pharma Insights business. We're here in San Francisco at the Biotech Showcase, and that runs alongside the JP Morgan meeting. It's in San Francisco, January this year, when the whole of the pharma and biotech movers and shakers get together for what's the curtain raiser for the industry. I'm joined by John Haurum, who's the CEO of Fstar, which is a UK-based biotech company which is focused on bispecific antibodies.
Yes.
Yeah? You guys are running a sort of slightly different business model from normal, where you're actually it's almost an asset-centric approach. So could you describe, what that's about and why you've decided to take that approach?
Yeah, so we set up the company in 2013 for the first time with a separate entity called Fstar Alpha, which held an asset that we then later on did a deal with Bristol-Myers Squibb in an option to buy kind of arrangement.
Yes.
And then we've also an entity called Fstar Beta, and we've today announced a licensing agreement with AbbVie, where they've acquired license rights to two targets that we're working on in the immuno-oncology space. So those are two different types of deals. One is an option to buy, and the second deal today announced with AbbVie is a licensing arrangement. So we've done the asset-centric structure because it gives additional flexibility in the kind of deals that we can do with Big Pharma. We can use it to leverage an interest in acquiring an asset through an equity purchase, or we can do it in a more classical sense, still in the form of normal license agreements with upfront milestones and royalties.
Okay, so these two deals, the Fstar Alpha, which is with Bristol-Myers, and the Fstar Beta with AbbVie, you sort of say that they're very different. So are there any other differences apart from the fact that one's an option, the other one's a sort of a straight licensing?
Yeah, I mean, so you could say that the Alpha deal was on a program in more of a classical oncology program. It's a program that targets HER2, and that program is now in the clinic, and BMS is essentially controlling and running the clinical trial and funding that, whereas the deal we announced today with AbbVie is a license agreement where there'll be a collaborative effort, and this is in immuno-oncology, where we have our proprietary pipeline focus. We have other programs in addition to the ones subject to the deal with AbbVie, also in immuno-oncology, and so we're working in the context of Beta with all our immuno-oncology programs.
So all your immuno-oncology programs are part of Beta?
Is owned by Beta, yeah.
Okay, and you sort of said it's collaboration. So
on the two targets that AbbVie has, entered into a license agreement on with us, there is a collaborative effort until a certain point, and then AbbVie can continue the development stages. And once it gets to the clinic, AbbVie will do their job.
Right, and will Fstar Beta, will it actually have any claims on those assets in terms of rights to co-develop?
Only financial returns, in a classical sense. No, it's. We're not, in fact, disclosing any details financially from this license agreement, but just to suffice to say, it's actually a really good deal for Fstar, both financially, but also in terms of working with AbbVie, which is one of the leaders in the IO space and also in the biologic space, and with a deep understanding of the ins and outs of bispecific antibodies. We're very pleased to be working with AbbVie going forward.
So as you're building your own company and building your own sort of internal expertise, what are you going to gain? What is Fstar itself going to gain from this relationship?
There is, at the sort of top level, there's the validation, entering into a deal with a well-renowned company like AbbVie that is indeed one of the experts in the biologics and the bispecific space. Of course, there's a lot of validation for the company. Then there is, on the particular programs, we're going to learn from the joint research phase and discovery phase, and then there is the financial gain. We have done the deal because it is financially lucrative for Fstar.
So what are the limits to the exclusivity? Because your immuno-oncology is a massive umbrella term. Is it on particular cancers, or
it's on two particular targets?
On two particular targets.
Yes. So we have programs on a number of different targets in the checkpoint space, both checkpoint stimulators and checkpoint inhibitors. Yeah. And AbbVie had an interest in two particular targets. What Fstar does is to discover a building block to make bispecifics in the context of normal IgG1 format products. So we will deliver in the collaboration building blocks for making bispecifics against two particular antigens from the checkpoint area, and then AbbVie can make bispecifics using those building blocks, where they can combine them into the specificities that they are interested in making in terms of the second specificity. And there's an element of exclusivity for one of the targets, and then there's an element of co-exclusivity for the other target, where we can also do some work ourselves.
And sometimes with these deals, then there's also a kind of a reach out that if those fall by the wayside early, that there are follow-up compounds. Is there any kind of that pullback?
It's something I can't really go into, but it is a very in the structure, it is a conventional license agreement in that sense.
And in terms of timelines, I mean, sort of when can we sort of expect Fstar beta to start, sort of talking about milestones?
So we've got programs in Fstar beta in addition to the two programs that are subject to the deal with AbbVie, and our most advanced program we are in the process of selecting candidate for manufacturing towards clinical development. So we're typically talking about in the order of 18 months from now, where we will be able to go into the clinic with the next compound. And the AbbVie programs are, coming slightly behind that.
And will all those programs be just focused on those two targets, or?
No, we've got currently a total of 5 targets that we're working on for the building block, and then every target we permutate into. We have a panel of around 15 different specificities that we are looking at in terms of the other end of the antibody, normal antibodies, so we put the building block into. So we'll have a large number of permutations that we are currently testing in vivo studies in animals.
And when we sort of think about the internal sort of investment and commitment that that your business has to do to these, to Fstar alpha and Fstar beta.
Yeah.
So how much capacity does that take up?
So alpha is in a way a done deal. BMS has taken over control and responsibility for that trial, and we are not obliged to deliver any work or any funding to that. So we're just waiting to see the outcome of that trial. And in beta, we've got the programs that we're doing together with AbbVie and then our own programs. And in total, we've got roughly 55 employees in Cambridge, and they are all working on those programs. In addition to a collaboration we have with Merck Serono from back in 2011, where we're also working on 2 programs with Merck Serono. So we've got a good mix of internal programs and partnered programs that we're working on.
And so we've got alpha, we've got beta, so gamma?
Possibly. So we do the asset-centric vehicles to the extent that they are helpful for our business development effort, and at the moment it's not something that is in the cards necessarily, but we could do that. We could also potentially see a funding round in the whole Fstar family going forward, and that's in fact what we are pursuing right now, is to raise money into Fstar overall to put the programs towards the clinic, and there is a realization, of course, that if we are going to work towards a large funding round, maybe we want to do it in the whole entity. So we're sort of very agnostic to the structure. We use it to be really propel our business the best way possible.
So large, I mean, can you sort of give us a sort of a number of what that would look like?
In terms of the next funding round?
Yeah.
So we're currently looking to raise an amount in the order of $30 million for bridging us into the clinic.
And would that be a different, are you going to look for a different kind of investor base to the one you've already got?
We're talking with some really good names on this side of the Atlantic and also in Europe, and we're looking to get a good validating group of new investors to look at our story and then hopefully build a syndicate with our existing investors and one or two good new names.
So could you remind me who's on your sort of your investor base at the moment?
So we've got Atlas Ventures from Boston, we've got AceCap and TVM, which are two European firms, and then we've got a group of corporate investors. SR1 also has a board seat, and then we have Merck Serono and Mitsubishi Pharma as investors, and they have observer seats.
So then you'd be actually looking to, I mean, that sounds like a pretty sort of solid impressive investor base, but you would like to sort of get people that are of a similar caliber?
So, I mean, if a company like Fstar, when we're maturing towards the future and possibly looking to do, you know, an IPO or a large financing event in the future, it would be really helpful for us to, and you know, in agreement with our current investors, to get one or two really good names around the table to help us. You know, propel us towards that future. But it's of course we all know that, you know, the market is uncertain and we are early, so we're not looking to do anything like that near term. But we're trying to make the company ready for that possible eventuality, maybe next year or in the future.
But the series. What would it be? Would it series?
Yeah, so we've had an A round in Fstar. So we raised a total of 30 million euro into Fstar. The last round was in fact in 2010, and then when we set up Alpha, we raised 10 million euro. But as part of
and that was in 2013.
Yeah, and that was in Alpha, and that is kind of spoken for separately. So. But the total amount raised in Fstar is 40 million euro.
Right, okay. And you'd want to complete that this year? Is that...
So we're looking to do a financing round in the second half of this year. Yes.
Well, John, good luck with that, and thanks very much for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.